Been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.
Mitigation.
Yeah, so I think that he's gonna work out a deal no less than 30. I don't think he's gonna work out a deal no less than 30. I don't think he's gonna do more than 30. I'm sorry, I just don't see it. But at the same time, they're gonna go after the assets too. So this isn't just about giving him the jail time. This is about taking the assets, the businesses, the houses. I mean, people don't understand that part of the case. They just think that once he gets convicted, it's just going to be, yeah, that's chart right there. When he gets convicted from that chart, the judge is going to tell the jury, okay, based on this grading scale at this conviction, this date, this time, we need to go by this scale.
Not the jury.
And the jury,
he's not going to discuss it with the jury. It's going to be at sentencing after he's
at sentencing. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. Yeah, but that's.
Do you hear how completely insane and derailed some of these evil, jealous, ridiculous people are? Imagine building a extremely successful record label since the 90s. And in 2025, someone is threatening that the government should seize all of the assets generated because you were convicted of a RICO for sex trafficking and prostituting your own girlfriend, but yet not one person has ever said they paid to have sex with Cassie, and none of the men that Cassie would hire were personally transported by them. Imagine. When you hear something this evil and diabolical, it seems like they were always just going after his assets. They keep bringing up R. Kelly. The truth is, now that we look at how these RICOs are disproportionately charged, it turns out that R. Kelly was also more than likely railroaded, the same way Tory Lanez was railroaded. Apparently, it seems like Black men are soft targets, and a lot of people have their own personal bias and want to see them all in prison. I don't think that there would be one. If you ask some of these people in the chat, even if they're Black, name one Black man that you don't think deserves to go to prison right now for anything. The only person most of them would ever be able to think of is Barack Obama. They wouldn't be able to give you a name of anybody else. They kind of just want to see a lot of different Black men, all of them in prison, especially ones with money. It's this whole thing about human nature where we kind of just go back to being mobs with pitchforks and torches. They hear them talking so candidly about seizing all the assets accumulated by this man. Even though there is no RICO charge here, there is no criminal enterprise. He paid a security guard to get rid of a tape that would make him look bad about a domestic violence incident. That's not a crime. These people want to stretch any and everything that's ever been done by this man, turn it into a crime. And I'm not a Diddy fan. I didn't care for the guy for years. This whole time, I've been told that he was a pedophile who was gay. But then I started listening to all these people tell me all these stories about how he's raping men, women, and children and animals every day for the past 20 years. And I'm like, man, this guy has a crazy sex drive. Out of none of the testimonies was anything homosexual alleged by him done or to him. There's no mention of any children or underage girls. And these are by women who have been dealing with him that they want money from him. They aged out. He moved on to younger women. They still want access to the resources and the lifestyle. He didn't get them pregnant. He never married any of them. So they had no choice but to sue him. That's how it goes in the United States. If you won't marry her and you won't get her pregnant, she has no choice but to accuse you of abuse. Later, and it doesn't matter if it's a false accusation or not, because there's no consequences for these women. That's the reason why this country is, if this kind of stuff is allowed to continue, the country's doomed. There will be no new children. There will be no new marriages, because any woman you decide to have children with or marry, you have to picture in your mind, she's going to be suing you eventually. This isn't about love. It's about setting up a nest egg for herself. Once Cassie got too old, she found a poor man to marry her. While Diddy moved on to a younger woman, which created this entire firestorm for him because he chose someone else. So basically now, if she's not your wife, she's your victim. Trump is saying he would possibly pardon Diddy because they tried to do the same thing to Trump. There's no such thing as women being able to consent anymore. Everything is coercion and force. Just listen to this crazy shit.
Gonna be
from Twitch's, I think it was a manager with Ellen DeGeneres.
No, there's nothing like that that was played in the court or that even came up on the court at all.
Okay, that's what I thought. I did tell my sister to be careful because there is a lot of fake things going around.
Yeah, definitely.
And I thought I would just come up and ask because you know everything.
Right, you did. Yeah, that didn't happen. That's not true at all.
Okay, well, I will let her know. Thank you very much for letting me come up. Good job.
Very welcome. Thanks, Christy. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, let me read a CNN update. With the prosecution still thin on their racketeering conspiracy argument, the testimony of witness Derek Ferguson, Diddy's former finance head, could help shore up their case against Diddy. They said the jury has already heard about predicate crimes, which means what's the racketeering activity? She added the jury has already heard false imprisonment, forced labor, arson, and presumably will hear obstruction of justice. And we heard bribery also.
There was no way to prove arson. Kid Cudi wasted his time. Cudi doesn't even know if it was Diddy who did it. Diddy never admitted to doing it. So they didn't prove that. One lady said she was kidnapped. There's no proof that she was ever kidnapped. She never reported it. So what they're trying to do is charge him for crimes that are so far outside the statute of limitation that they're hoping the RICO will extend the statute of limitations. So basically, they're using loopholes in the law to illegally prosecute a man for crimes that in a typical court case would be outside the statute of limitations, which are put there for a reason. And they're just sitting here, and because he's Diddy, and I guess because of how he looks, they don't care about the rights or the courts or the integrity of the courts or how the laws were written and why they were written a certain way. They just want to get a win.
So, however, she notes they didn't go hard because they didn't say you never had S contact with Diddy. They just tried to say that it was consensual. But one of the most important things, and this is what I said Diddy's defense is starting to look like, they're going to attack the existence of the enterprise. They're going to attack the existence that this was all connected. Yeah, there's a kidnapping. We're not saying that it didn't happen. Yeah, there's this, there's this. You have your two predicates. You have way more than your two predicates needed for RICO. But RICO is a lot more than that. They have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt to the jury that a criminal enterprise existed.
Now, these are people that have been covering this every day, same as me. If there was a RICO where there was an enterprise connection, that's all these people would be speaking about. They would be telling you who he's connected to, what makes up the enterprise, who are the players, what are their roles. They don't. They're just saying stuff, hoping that someone else is going to make these connections. And what that means is that they're going to have to just reach and just make up nonsense and project. But that's why these people are constantly disappointed. The good thing about this case is that there is social media reporting on every single thing. So in reality, people are going to see if he is given a fair trial or if he's just railroaded and with nonsense. Saying that somebody did something but not being able to prove it is a problem. The burden of proof should be something that everyone demands before we send someone to die in prison or to die in the electric chair. There is no burden of proof that there was a criminal enterprise in prostitution. They've literally spent the last 3 weeks talking about this man's personal sex life. Everybody I know hates their boss. Ex-employees that had a crush on the man and had sex with him, and now he moved on to somebody younger than them. Because let's just think about it. Young Miami's 15, 20 years their junior, these women. They all got an axe to grind because they still want to have the P. Diddy lifestyle. What do these women nowadays say? They want to live like a married woman without the husband. The only way you can do that is by marrying a man and then divorcing him, and then you can still have access to his resources. Or you get pregnant by him, and then he has to pay you an extreme child support, so you got to get pregnant by the right guy. Or if those two fail, you have to accuse them of abuse. Like, we're seeing this pattern play out, and it's a lot of these black celebrity dudes, again, soft targets, and there's a pattern here. It's getting more and more dangerous, and that's why a lot of men are just starting to pivot or just shut down and just say, hey, I'm just not going to be involved. You know, this is probably one of the last of the Mohicans right here. No one else is going to want to put themselves out there. And you know, being an entertainer in the United States, beware. If you ride in an elevator with a woman 20 years from now, she can claim that elevator, you touched her, you grabbed her, or you tried to grape her in the elevator. Even if there's cameras and there's proof that you didn't, it's 50-50. You might just settle out of court, and if she gets 20,000, that's 20,000 more than she had when she woke up the day before. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of financial incentives in these nonsensical allegations being made against somebody, but for them to go this far where there's nothing, where there's no proof of nothing, it's just insane.
And we probably will hear some of that from Florida, where Diddy was, I think, him that he was charged with in the state, a very small amount of narcotics. So that stipulation is entered into the record. And here we go. We are also entering into evidence records from Signature Bank. Any objection? No. With that, the government calls Derek Ferguson. How do you know Mr. Combs? I worked for him from 1998 to 2017. Mr. Combs told me, I knew you could do it. Oh, no, sorry. It ran two tweets. This is strange. It's running tweets. All right. So the last tweet is, we are also entering into evidence records from Signature Bank. Any objection? No. With that, the government calls Derek Ferguson. How do you know Diddy? I worked for him 1998 to 2017. We're waiting for the next one. Wendell. Nicole. Hi, Wendell. Wendell Jones? No. All right. Nicole, hi. Nicole? No. Noratini? So Derek Ferguson is on the stand. Hi, Noratini.
Hi. So my question is, if Eddie, my angel, whatever he's called, if he gave him the video, how did they get a copy of the video for evidence?
How did who get a copy?
How did the government? How did they get the copy from the hotel? Because he said that there wasn't a copy and it wasn't on the cloud. So
Yeah,
how?
We might hear more about that later, but here's what I think happened. The government has already said several months ago that the first time they ever saw that video was on CNN. That's the first time the video was seen by the government. And from there they subpoenaed and got, I guess, further evidence or the more of the video that was sold to CNN. So
Again, what the hell does a domestic violence video outside of the statute of limitations have to do with the price of tea in China? It does not show prostitution, racketeering, or trafficking. It's a domestic violence video. All domestic violence looks bad. I'll be honest with you. When I first saw the video like a year and a half ago, in my memory, I thought he hit her with a bat and was just beating her senseless. I watched the video last week. He basically pulls her by the hoodie. She falls down. He's wearing socks that are striped. So he has basically bare feet with socks on. He tries to kick her. He kicks her in the butt. And the first time it grazes her, the second time he kicks her in the butt. He didn't sit there and stomp her face in, beat her to a pulp. But when I first saw the video on CNN, I was like, ooh, this looks bad. I watch it now and I'm like, people fight. People fight. It wasn't, she didn't die. No injuries. It wasn't even, he didn't even drag her all the way into the room. He barely pulled her a few feet into the hallway and he's holding a towel. Then he walks back to the room. I don't know if anybody's ever been in a toxic relationship, but that's how it goes. You can't call somebody a trafficker because him and his girlfriend used to get into physical altercations. And you can't pervert the law to extend. You can't change definitions mid-trial of what certain things are and try to get them to stick. It just doesn't. You can't do that, because if you do, we don't have a justice system anymore. We have mob rule. And whoever the masses say is guilty, this is literally the Salem witch trials. Somebody would just point and say, she's a witch. And the only way to prove you're not a witch is if they throw you in the water and if you drown. If you drown, you're not a witch. But if you know how to swim, you are a witch, and they hang you or they burn you. Basically, you're screwed either way. They want this man to go down, whether he's guilty of racketeering and sex trafficking or not. And that's the scary thing. Because, well, then that means that who's next? Anybody's next. I said this when they went after R. Kelly with no proof, just stories and rumors, that's a bad precedent to sell, to set. And I said that they're going to use this against other famous people later. And those people should have spoke out back then when they removed the burden of proof. And that's what the RICO law does. RICO statutes mean that there is no actual evidence against you. There's just somebody saying that you did something, but they can't actually prove it. And the RICO statutes should not exist in a constitutional republic. It's not only that, even being convicted of a RICO, the sentencing is cruel and unusual punishment because there actually is no burden of proof. So any punishment would be cruel and unusual for a man that you couldn't prove did anything wrong. The words of a person who is afraid to lose their own freedom, so they're willing to roll over on you, you can't be trusted. But there's no video, there's no audio. Him and his girlfriend fighting 10 years ago in a hotel lobby is not sex trafficking, prostitution, or racketeering where there's a criminal enterprise. He paid a security guard. Why? If that's all you have, then you don't have anything. I can't believe they even brought this to trial where their smoking gun is a domestic violence video. This is not a domestic violence fucking case. Where's everybody at that's grounded to understand facts matter and what, at the end of the day, that's what counts is what you can prove, not how you feel. Like, this is way too emotional.
So they had it from that. Because there's too many, and then you guys can re-request. T-Baby is not coming up. Let me refresh.
And again, I'm not pro Diddy, but I'm just pro accuracy. And they don't want channels like mine to get tons of attention. Everybody that I see online is basically trying to look at him from a guilty angle. I'm looking at this whole thing where I was neutral at first, but now I'm like, well, there's no evidence of anything. I'd want proof before we send someone to jail and take everything they've built up over their lives, where they distributed to a bunch of people we don't even know about, and they just absorb your catalogs. Is that what this is all about? Getting his masters and just, taking down these men. I mean, what happened to Prince? What happened to Michael Jackson? What happened to all their catalogs? There's a lot of there's only a few more big names like this that are left. And it's like they're going to all fall down like dominoes. And the fact that enough of them aren't speaking up in favor and basically saying, hey, I don't see anything here. That's because everyone's just so quiet because they're afraid. Look, they're going to come for you. They're going to come for you regardless, whether you speak up or not. Diddy didn't speak up to defend R. Kelly. Now look at him facing the same thing with even less evidence.
So
oh gosh, so they're just kind of going back and forth with it.
they are, yeah.
Great. Sounds like I don't know, the whole case has just been kind of iffy either way. So
Yeah, it's going back and forth. But I see the government is proving slowly but surely the elements of the case, which is the most important thing, not all the sensational stuff we're hearing coming out in the testimony.
The problem is with the government is that you have to use your imagination to see their point. And that means that there's not anything substantial or clear. You actually have to imagine him being guilty or imagine something going on. I mean, even when listening to all these testimonies, people are still calling into this show and saying, well, my sister heard that him and Ellen DeGeneres were trafficking kids and they were hanging upside down in a basement underneath a pizza parlor. And they're like, well, no, that never came out. That never happened. Okay. It's like they tainted the jury pool with all this baby oil nonsense, like it's illegal to have excessive amounts of lubricants. Like that's a felony that shows racketeering right there because how? Like, well, how is that racketeering? What the fuck are we talking about? Where is the proof? Where is the smoking guns? Where are the facts that something was done to him? Again, look at Tory Lanez, was railroaded 2 years ago. No evidence of him ever firing a gun, no residue on his hands, nothing. They don't test the other people. How do you get convicted? He's in jail for shooting a Megan, but he didn't get prosecuted for shooting Megan. It just shows you the mental gymnastics that they will play, and nobody will say nothing really if the person they're accusing is black. One reason you say that is because you don't see a lot of other people from different races that are public figures like this being specifically targeted. And I'm not saying that it's a racism thing. I'm just saying that the public at large seems to be okay with locking up any and all black men for any and all things. And I'm not saying that they're all innocent. I'm just saying at least prove it. At least prove that somebody did something wrong. I mean, Jesus Christ, this is supposed to be the United States. You're supposed to have laws. There's supposed to be protections here. Where are we going with this? No.
Yeah.
Happening in the company.
So basically, is he just in control? It don't have nobody shares, owner, like different directors in control. It seems like it's him alone controlling the business.
I think it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Ria. I think all decision making, everything is him. I don't know if there was a board of directors or something like that, but they would all be his own people. All right, let's see.
Ridiculous. You can't be a one-man enterprise. You cannot be a one-man enterprise. The last time there was a one-man RICO was R. Kelly, because they don't exist. And that's why I said R. Kelly got railroaded. Even John Gotti, there were other people in his case, and they created the RICO to go after the mob. But this now it's being used against, it was used against our sitting president, which is why Trump's like, yeah, I'm probably going to pardon him because, and honestly, they should abolish being able to use RICO laws. If you cannot charge someone within the statute of limitation by providing proof that they committed a crime, you should not be able to charge them at all. It's extremely, actually, it's un-American to do so. To basically say, yeah, even though you're outside the statute of limitation, we don't have any evidence, we're going to prosecute you using an instrument called the RICO statute. And we're going to basically just find one or two people that said you might have did something 1,000 years ago. And we're going to use that to kind of show the jury that, what the fuck are we doing here? It's a circus. And it's not based in fact or reality. You should be able to you should have to prove that a man is actually guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. With RICO laws, there's no demand for proof in the first place. There's no evidence against these people, which is why they charge you under the RICO. And honestly, it seems like the justice system is getting so desperate, they're charging everybody under RICO because it seems like they're getting less and less evidence of people actually committing any wrongdoing. A lot of people are committing less crimes. The justice system might be starving and it's hungry. Without RICO statutes that just bring in a bunch of people with no evidence, well, where are the bodies that are going to be needed to sustain these court systems around the country? Think about it. Lyft and Uber dried up a lot of municipalities' rackets when it came to DUIs. A lot of police used to sit outside of bars and clubs and just follow people who they know are in there drinking. If that's the case, why do bars, clubs have parking lots if you're not allowed to drink and drive when you leave? Why is there a parking garage for people to go to clubs and go to bars and go to lounges if you're not supposed to drive when you leave? It's like it's a setup. They shouldn't even have a parking lot. And everyone's forced to take a ride share if it's about public safety. But if it's a racket to kind of ensnare people in traps when they're leaving clubs, and wouldn't that be racketeering? Wouldn't that be committing a RICO in itself? No one wants to have that conversation.
The next one. So back then we communicated his role. What was his role? Let me back up because it didn't sound. Who is this? Uncle Paulie. They showed him a photo. And these individuals, very profitable. Roger Bonds and D-Rock, they were security. Was Mr. Combs the sole owner? Yes, 100%.
And people, look at the comments. There's a man saying that doesn't Diddy have a freaky side? Where in any of this testimony have you heard anything freaky about Diddy? Of all these witnesses and all those freak offs and all those escorts, Diddy never had sex with any of them. Diddy never touched any of them. The only person that was getting freaky was his girlfriend. He knew his girlfriend was a big time cheater. He thought if he took care of her appetite for men, that she wouldn't have to lie to him and go behind his back, and he was wrong. You can't stop a cheater from cheating no matter how much you give in to their fantasies. They just like different partners. They don't care if you're a billionaire or you're the personal trainer. If you're the janitor, she'd fuck the valet if she could. She'd fuck anybody. Male escorts from strange websites. It doesn't matter. That's her appetite for sex. Diddy wasn't getting freaky. So how the hell is he responsible for it or even being asked to be? Women have autonomy. They can choose what they want to do with their bodies. Their body, their choice, right? So how are you going to hold another adult responsible for what this woman chooses to do? It looks like she coerced him. It doesn't take money to be coerced. Does it seem like Alex Fine had a lot of money? No, but he convinced Cassie to do what? Leave Diddy, marry him. And guess what she did to him? She still cheats. Diddy was the only one not getting freaky at the freak-offs. Think about that. And I'm going to drive that home on social media today. The only one not getting freaky at the freak-offs was Diddy. Why do you think Diddy never said, I love the freak-offs? Guess who does love them? Cassie. Guess why? She's the only one getting pleasured and getting freaky at the fucking freak-offs. And I don't know why people aren't even saying that, but why am I the only one that's saying it? It's crazy.
Of Bad Boy Productions.
Stopped selling in 23. Prosecute up because I would be interested in exactly what does he manufacture now? If he don't have, and I hope that the prosecutor.
You're breaking up.
Know, like,
all right, court is
exactly what does he
really it's really breaking up when we're hearing you. But maybe you want to try later when we get back. We're going to take the lunch break right now too.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to drop you down. I saw somebody in the chat say something about the lunch break, but let me see. I don't see it here. The last tweet was, how was Mr. Combs paid? Sometimes salaries, sometimes distributions from the companies. What is a distribution? If it's solely owned or passed through like an S corp, the owner determines to draw down. Did each have a bank account? Yes. Did somebody see that they went into a lunch break right now? Because they're still giving the tweets out. No. So I'm going to stay till I see a lunch break. It's usually right around this time, but they haven't done it yet. At least from what something. I don't know about any of that stuff, to be honest, but all right, here we go. Could you sign on the account? Yes. Which banks did Diddy's companies use? Citibank, HSBC, and Signature Bank. What is this one? Janice Combs Music Inc. It furnished his name and likeness. All right, they're going to get into that Signature Bank document that has been placed on the record. Ruby?
If you listen closely, they're basically trying to just bring up all of his financial and private business matters and say, well, all these businesses were created and sustained using the proceeds from illegal activity. And the illegal activity was him prostituting Cassie. But basically, him selling Cassie's box from 2011 till 2019 is how Bad Boy Records, which has existed since the 90s, was able to be profitable and how he had liquid cash. So that's what they're claiming. And if you're a juror, you're not going to realize that these entities were around long before that, and nobody made $1 billion off of prostituting Cassie, because remember, nobody was buying Cassie. Cassie was paying men to come get freaky with her at the freak offs. Diddy was a fly on the wall. If anything, Diddy was forced to be there. He was a victim. Why he's not being portrayed as a victim is beyond me, because that would show a bias towards women, and that wouldn't be fair. If men and women are equal, then under the law equally, these standards should be applied. What if Diddy didn't want to be there? Cassie's the one who's picking these men out. What if he just didn't want to be there and he didn't want to get cheated on? What did Cassie say? She was doing it to make him happy. Did anybody ask if Diddy was only doing this to make him her happy? Because from the looks of it, the only person that was not ever getting freaky at any of the freak-offs was Sean Diddy Combs. That marinate for a second. The freakiest man on earth never even took his clothes off at the freak-offs. Acid penis, not even turned on. Dozens, I don't know, God knows how many freak-offs. And the only person getting freaky was Cassie.
See, and Signature Bank. Hi, Shelly. Did you want to come up, Shelly? No, I'll drop you down. Don't worry. Stacy. Jane V. Hi, Stacy. All right, Jane V. Hi, Jane V. You want to come up? All right, Marie 73. Also, now I'm going to drop everybody down right now. All right, the list is empty. As soon as they break, we are going to break. Tipsy Moon, thank you. Ash, Nelly, Nadia, Missy, Maria, Mimi, Baked, Nana, Sarah, Josie, and here I am. Thank you, guys. Let me refresh and check CNN real quick. So that's still the last tweet. This is going to be good. Let me read. Evidence towards the RICO for sure. CNN says when Derek Ferguson first started at the company, he said he interacted with Diddy pretty much regularly, a couple times a week. As more professional management was interacted, Ferguson said his interactions with Diddy became less frequent. Certain points during his tenure, he reported to the company president. When there was no president, he reported directly to Diddy. I think at one point, Harv Pierre was so Ferguson maybe asked, yeah.
Of the security.
You know,
I mean, the guys in the
the
guys in the photo, people don't know who they are.
Yeah, I wish I could say. So I could tell you on the right is D-Rock. That's D-Rock, and I have to find this because I had it up.
Holly is in the middle.
Is D-Rock?
I think.
Do we know this?
Yeah. I remember that from yesterday.
Okay. Let me see. Let me see if I can find something, because I know I had them all written out yesterday, but I deleted some emails. I had them all. Trash, okay. Let me see. But there are 3 of his security, and those pictures were shown. The pictures were shown yesterday.
Mike,
Yeah.
I know it's like somebody with Diddy's financial, but people are asking his name and I didn't catch his name. Who's on the stand right now?
Derek Ferguson. Derek Ferguson is the person. All right, I can't.
You guys want to see an example of how people just make up stuff and lie? Look at this. I just posted this on Facebook.
Diddy's mother saved his cum in her refrigerator and drizzled it on the food.
Yep. There it is. My 13th reason. Get me off this planet immediately.
Diddy's mother saved his cum in her refrigerator.
This is 2 women. 2 delusional, sick-minded fucking women that are literally making up a story and putting it on the internet. And there are people in the comments who are just believing anything. If the jury is this fucking stupid and dim, anybody is. Never once in this trial was this ever alleged. Never once did anybody ever admit to anything like this or remotely even similar. Nothing about this is in regards to anything realistic or true. But these people are saying this enthusiastically, pretending that it's actual fact and this was actually just reported in the trial. It wasn't. This is the basis for this entire RICO. None of this is true. None of this is even real. But this woman is sitting here making this claim, and I wish he would sue her. You guys have been watching this entire case. There's no one that's ever said Diddy's mother saved his semen and put it on food. Are you fucking sick? Do you know what kind of charges that is? In fact, they just make it up out of thin air. That should scare all of you.
My man just asked me to send.
That's
Diddy's mother saved his cum in her refrigerator and drizzled it on the food.
Yep. There it is.
Yep. There it is. There's what. There what is. Shut the people are sick.
Find these names right now, but I'll try to do it later on. Let me get back to the tweets.
On the news or something that got
back and read the actual thing, but there was some disturbance in the courtroom and the effers are going to be moved.
Oh, okay. Man, that's crazy. I worked 13 hours last night, man. I'm just now getting up. So you can drop me down, Mike. I just wanted a small little update because my wife woke me up talking about this on the news. Look, tune in to Mike's Law. I'm like, oh my God, let me get up.
All right, man.
All right.
See you later on, man. Have a good day. Drop it down, Classic Brown. Next tweet. What about credit cards? Primarily American Express. Expense reimbursements. Did Mr. Combs have an Amex? Yes. Did he use it for personal as well as professional? Yes. And the companies paid? Yes. Very important stuff. Very important stuff going towards the enterprise. You might not realize the significance of these questions, but in a legal sense, when they're trying to prove the existence of an enterprise, and they're proving that crimes were committed and these crimes are being funded by the company, it's a direct hit from his own CFO. It's not the interesting, sensational testimony that we've heard from all other witnesses, but it's equally as important. He said that he and Diddy were the signatories on the business bank accounts during his tenure with the companies. They're reviewing bank records with him for various business bank accounts for Combs Enterprises. That was a quick CNN update.
Do you know how large?
So now this is.
Do you realize how large this man's financial portfolio was prior to this all happening? He's a billionaire. You know how many bank accounts he has and how many different contracts and other business agreements, to now try to say that all of that is a part of a criminal enterprise is fucking ridiculous. Hopefully people see through this. They want his assets that he wouldn't normally be able to, that he'd be able to protect, that would go to his children. The government wants to seize them. He's not a sex trafficker. He's not a pimp. And there's definitely not any racketeering going on with the proceeds from him for sex trafficking and pimping. He's not a pimp. This is, it's just, you might not think that you're worth the effort, but they can come after you. They can come after anybody if they let this stand. This cannot allow to continue. This cannot go through. He cannot get convicted.
The financial part. Who better, tweet or the break for lunch? All right, so he's going to be on the stand for a while, I would imagine. Let's see how Diddy's lawyers, professional against professional. This guy's a CFO. He's probably working in that same kind of field right now. Imagine how much information he'll know about Diddy's finances, being the CFO for almost 2 decades working with Diddy. That's a big part of a big chunk out of the conspiracy time frame. The government alleges in the indictment that the racketeering conspiracy began in 2004 and ended in 2024. So he incorporates, he was there from 2004 to 2017 during that conspiracy time. And he probably might have done some things that may have been questionable when it came to 2000, but who knows if they'll get into that. All right, that was still the last tweet. Charlotte Uptowns, you want to come up? Hi, Charlotte. No. Drop you down. Shivers Durant. Danielle. Neither one. But how did they come up? User 258. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfect. How you doing?
Good. Just a quick question. That CFO that's on stand right now, he'll be going down with Diddy as well, right?
No, not at all. I wouldn't expect it. We don't know that he did anything yet, first of all. But if he did, he would have had a cooperation agreement before he would ever take the stand and talk about those things.
Because then again, you're moving the money around. Diddy's telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. No?
Well, it could.
It's his money. He's a billionaire from music and entertainment. What the fuck do you think the money is from? Drugs? What are you insinuating here? Why wouldn't he be able to move his own money around? And why would his CFO go down? There's nothing illegal about doing music and making money. So in the minds of these people, even though Diddy's a black entertainer, this is all about him being a big-time drug dealer. This isn't even about sex trafficking. They think he's a drug dealer, and that's why these people keep chiming in, and they want to see him go down. Just listen to him.
Get him in trouble.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Donna Staten, did they break yet? How was the outgoing case handled? How was outgoing cash handled? We had a petty cash account and cash advances. For example, for those traveling who didn't have American Express cards. When Mr. Combs was paid in cash, how did it work? We'd match it if a contract. I'm not sure exactly what they're saying there. Donna Stacy. How was outgoing cash handled? We had a petty cash account, cash advances, for example, for those traveling who didn't have Amex card. Hi, Donna Stacy. I don't know what that was. Shivers, you want to try again? We had a petty cash account and cash advances, for example, for those traveling who didn't have Amex cards. When Mr. Combs was paid in cash, how did it work? We'd match it if a contract. I think they said we'd match it to a contract. Shivers, hi.
You're doing, Mike. A quick question.
You're breaking up a little bit. Your connection
I know
isn't
that
very
if he
good.
can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's a little better.
Okay, so wanted to ask you a quick question. I know that if he gets convicted, that they'll try to like seize assets and take properties and things like that. I know that
Yeah.
in Florida, those houses that's like on Star Island, I think that Florida law is like they can't take those Florida homes from them.
Like the Homestead Act or
but
something?
yeah, like where they can't seize
Yeah,
property in the state of Florida if like due to
sure.
crime and things like that.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask was, I'm pretty sure a guy as big as him that he'll have like all these trusts and things like that in place. How do that work?
They would attach themselves. The government would try to go after those, depending on what happens here. What if there's a conviction and what the jury what the government has proven to the jury. If they start going after his companies, they just have this guy on the stand right now, Derek Ferguson, who says Diddy was 100% sole owner of these companies. If he tried to structure these businesses now into trusts or to other kind of things, they can still go after these businesses. And as far as not being able to seize his home in Florida, I think federal law would probably trump that, whatever Florida laws have. If there's crimes that are committed and there's a forfeiture of a property, I think under federal law, they would be able to take it.
Got you. Okay. All right. That was my question because I know with some trusts it's like really hard to penetrate a trust. So I was like, I wonder, like can they take like, if he have trust set up? Because like I think one of the homes in Florida was like in his mom's name when they were trying to like do his bail in the beginning and things like that. So I was like, dang, I wonder what would they do like if he got all these different trusts set up.
Yeah.
Like, do they tie his kids to this and say, hey, well, all right, well, we can take that if it's in the kid's name because they're a part of the business. You know what I'm saying?
Sure. And if he
Okay.
starts moving money around that way, now he'll get hit with something called fraudulent conveyance, where he's doing these. So he'll have more problems.
Yep. I know he can't move anything, and I'm pretty sure they just seized everything right now.
No, they
Everything's
haven't
probably.
seized anything yet.
Oh, okay.
They haven't
So
seized
he
anything.
just.
But like I'm saying, if he starts moving, like signing over millions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars to his kids' names or to his family right now, trying to protect it from seizure or forfeiture, that's not going to work.
Gotcha. All right.
All right. Thanks for coming up, man. I
Mike.
appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you.
Let me drop you down. There's another tweet. Were you aware of Diddy's security staff carrying cash for him? I was not aware of that. And when were you responsible for his when you were responsible for his personal finances, what did you do? Budget for the year. Properties, inflows and outflows. Money coming in, money going out. What properties did he own? The Hamptons, New York, Miami, they were held in LLCs for anonymity and liability reduction and tax benefits. Did you oversee other personal accounts of Mr. Combs? Yes. They should be stopping any minute now. This is probably the longest they went without before breaking for lunch. Let's see. And CNN says, he said he's testified that cash payments were an industry norm 20 years ago. He said it was not uncommon, especially during his early years working for Diddy, that performers would be paid in cash, and a performer's manager would at times bring cash to the finance department to be processed. He also said that he was not aware that Diddy's security carried cash for him, saying it was not something I paid any attention to. There were periods when third parties were engaged to handle Combs's personal finances.
This is getting so ridiculously far away from sex trafficking, prostitution, and racketeering. Now they're just talking about how a billionaire moves his money around. Not saying that any of the proceeds or any of the money came from illegal activity. They're just obsessed with this billionaire and his money. This is crazy.
Donna and Tahiba. Hi, Donna.
Hey, how are
Hi.
you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hey, does anybody say what his family is doing when they hear this stuff? You know, it's for the first time.
I don't, you know what? His adult sons, I think, are very aware. I don't mean like in a legal sense, but I think they know everything that's going on. They've heard all the lawsuits. They've heard all these things about the bribes. They know all this stuff. So I don't think they're surprised. His mother, I don't think his mother is surprised. She's sitting in the courtroom every day. His daughters, they're not there anymore. His twin daughters, they came just the first day or so. So I don't think much of this is a surprise to them, to be honest.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
And
it is.
the second thing is, let's go back to, I think, last week when she paddle boarded out to get away from him. Did it say, or have you heard what he did to her once she
Came back? No, we never heard that.
Oh, okay. I just wondered if he beat her.
Who knows? But we didn't hear about that one. And Donna, we're gonna end now because they just took a lunch break.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Tahiba, I'm gonna get to you when we come back. I apologize, but I'm gonna end now too because I always have to do things during this time. So plan on coming back around 10:15, which is about 40 minutes from right now. They are taking their lunch break. And then we will be back at 10:15 with Derek Ferguson still on the stand. Free P. Diddy, come on up next time. You don't have to write it more than once. You're welcome to come on the panel and voice your support as to why Diddy should be freed. All right, let me thank my wonderful mods, Natalie, Ash, Susan, Royalty, and Poor High Class. Thanks, you guys, and thank all of you for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back at 10:15 Pacific time, let's say about 35, 40 minutes from now. And I'll be back. Have a wonderful
They're going to take a break for lunch. I'm going to do the same, and we'll be back shortly with some other insights. But we're watching somebody be railroaded in real time. This shouldn't even be a trial. This should have never made it this far. But we're going to just watch and see how bad our justice system really is. The fact that this is even up here is it's embarrassing and it's laughable. But it's okay. We're going to listen to some other opinions.
They're telling a story, guys. They're telling a story. And now this is getting to the point where they're putting the money involved of how this worked. Let me see. I'm trying to get into CNN and they're being stupid. So hold on. I think I've been on the site too long. So they're like, no, you have to pay. Okay. Oh, the free puff guy's on with his undersized belly shirt. Okay. Here we go. Interesting. Okay, we got a bunch of good stuff here. Okay. Former head of finance. This is a summary of the CNN. Right now, I believe they're taking a break. So, yeah, CNN's making me pay now. But I figured it out. Different browser. Former head of finance described how Combs would use his corporate card. So the CFO said most senior executives at Bad Boy had an American Express corporate cards, including Combs. He testified that Combs would charge business and personal expenses on his card from time to time. He said members of his team would determine which business or entity a charge pertained to and then use that business accounts to pay off that charge. He said the cash payments were an industry norm 20 years ago. He said it was not uncommon, especially during his early years of working for Combs, that performers would be paid in cash, and a performer's manager would at times bring cash to the finance department to be processed. Okay. That's in the early years. Now, he testifies that he wasn't aware Combs Security carried cash for him. He said that he was not aware Combs Security carried cash for him, saying it was not something I paid attention to. Not something I paid attention to. I feel like he was aware. During his tenure, he said there were periods when third parties were engaged to handle Combs' personal finances, and other times it was internally managed. Oh, thank you. That one made a noise. Okay, court adjourns for lunch break. The court will empty out for lunch break, and everyone will return at 1:10 p.m. Prosecutors say they have about 20 minutes of direct questioning left, who has been going over how Combs' financials were managed. Okay. All right, so what did they say? It was 1:10. And then she had 20 minutes left. So 1:30. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do, guys. I will keep this on. You guys can talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to keep this on. I'm going to go eat, have my lunch break. I'm going to come back. What time did it say? 1:10? I'm going to come back at 1:10, and I'm going to be on until 1:30 to try to wrap the direct. Okay? I need to eat. Okay? So, somebody's asking for a recap. So talk amongst yourselves and do the recap. I'm going to put it on, microphone off. Okay. I'll be back. I'm going to keep this on so you guys can talk amongst yourselves about it. Okay. I'm going to turn the mics off, but I'll come back on at 1:10. Okay. 1:10 Eastern. So,
Is the guy alive or not? I look to y'all I look to the Hunted side and the exposure and 1090. Who got the work? Is he a rat or not?
So at this point, he can't stand on it based on a court document because he doesn't have that. I know what this crazy motherfucker got. He could respond, and I'm telling you, the fact that he has not responded in the way that I know he could, based on something to kind of talk or discredit something, I think he's waiting on that to just pick a fork in the whole situation. I hope it comes back in favor of Larry. But right now, I know what he's doing. I know if he knows me like I know him.
Hey, 1090, since we have you on here officially, because I'm going to be honest with you, and I've seen a lot of people send me this, and they says your reputation, I think you went through this before where your reputation becomes in limbo because people are wondering if you're either jumping the gun or you're lying, right?
Nah, I wouldn't say his reputation. His reputation. My reputation is in limbo because people have favoritism.
There we go.
Right?
Talk about it.
So the thing is,
Like
they're talking about, now slow down. My reputation isn't on the line in this situation, right? So, Whack, Where did this shit start from? Who was the one that originally posted this? Because people it was an app called Squid 8 from Chicago. Right. This hit came from Chicago itself. It didn't come. Somebody from Chicago.
So you didn't conjure this up?
No, not at all. Man, somebody from Chicago did this, and somebody from LA sent it to me and said, "Hey, is this shit real?" So what I did was I looked into it. I found articles saying the same shit as whoever from Chicago posted it, right? That was a Chicago blog that posted that. So that came from the city of Chicago. The reason they not putting a face on it is because they know what comes with it. That's the same reason James Highsmith isn't going to speak against Larry Hoover. He still lives in fucking Chicago.
Really?
Now, what I read, the content I read, the interview I read, it was a great piece to protect Mr. Hoover. But
was it factual though, Whack? I know you wouldn't run no fake content. The guy who said Larry Hoover never told on me.
Here's the thing. I am not this individual. These men are in their 70s. All I can do is go over that newspaper clipping and ask him, was it factual? What is the account? What happened that day? Which is up on my page, right? So I let him answer. But what I'm telling you is one thing about it. Like when you got two motherfuckers at the chessboard, we kind of know what each other's up to based upon our movement and based upon the moves he hasn't made. Then that lets me know what 1090's up to.
So,
right?
Whack, I'm gonna ask you again. If 1090 come with the work, and it shows that Larry Hoover may have done such, will you stand on the Hunter side and say, hey, despite me having a conversation with the man who claimed, Larry Hoover never told on him, the work says otherwise, and Larry Hoover is a rat. Will you say
1090 can answer that? I'm always gonna go off to work. You know that.
So,
hey, Whack. Let me ask you, right? Because you just said you always gonna go off to work, right? Yeah, I'm gonna go off to work. If you live in California State Prison, so if word comes out that somebody snitched, right? And you go and ask the person that did the shooting, is what he says gonna matter? Or is the paperwork? No, the paperwork is gonna call the last shot. Because the shooter can get paid off to say anything, right? Well, people can get paid off, people can get intimidated, people can be persuaded. Right. Now let me ask you. Now watch this act. Watch this act. You gotta remember, you gotta remember, and the world has to remember. But you gotta know. Because if it was a me and your thing, and we was speaking the same way, we know we're gonna whatever you find, I can find, right? So I'm telling you, based upon me knowing 1090 and how he moves and knowing what I got, I'm assuming, right? And I'm not gonna assume. I know he has a certain document and he just hasn't used it. So when I ask myself, well, why hasn't he fired the shot? I'm saying he's waiting to get back those 1968 documents. So I'm going to ask you, 1090, is there a certain document that's in your possession that you could have responded with, but you haven't yet? Absolutely. There you go, Act. I'm telling you, like, nigga, we chess players. I know. But since we chess players, right? Let me ask you a question, right? What's up? You Pyru. If you hear one of the big homies in Pyru got some shit on his name, are you gonna wait for me to go get it, or are you gonna go get it? Oh no, I'm definitely gonna go get it. So why the GDs ain't going to the Chicago courthouse to prove that Larry Hoover ain't got no fucking paperwork? Do you want me to answer that question truthfully? I want you to answer that question honestly. For the same reason that I haven't. They don't want it to. You feel me? Well, I'm gonna be real. Like in this world, and I'm gonna keep it real and act. I think you would understand this shit. In this world, when it comes to some people and some things, there's going to be selective politicking there, right? To where if it was these other people, you would do it. If it's Big Meats, you would do it, as if Ack is saying, but now that it's Larry Hoover, you're not doing it. And it's not necessarily, some situations could be out of fear, which is what 1090 is suggesting with James Highsmith. Maybe he changed his story out of fear. And I'm going to be real. I'm just saying, if 1090 pulls that paperwork from 1968 and it's not in favor of Larry Hoover, that other piece that I know he probably has, it's going to blow the doors off of everything. It's game over at that point. I know if I got it, he has to have it.
Hold on, what?
I know if my...
Will you talk about him like how I've heard you discuss Big Meech, that he's a rat bastard if the paperwork says that, or will you give him the grace? Because here's the thing. I think that, and I think some people, and 1090J could even jump in. Some people are saying, bro, he's in his 70s or 60s, whatever. I don't know how old he is.
That doesn't matter. That don't matter.
Some people have been saying that to say, come on, man.
Bro,
come on.
I'm kicking 50 in the ass. I got kids like he got kids. I got a reputation like he got a reputation. 1090 gonna feel the same way. Nobody really that got a set of cojones is gonna give a fuck about that. They gonna read what's on the work.
Oh wow.
Well, at the same time, it's like there's a level of importance to shit like this, because I don't even think you can tally up how many GDs have died behind this shit, right? And what I said in my video was this would be considered breaking the code by any standard, but what about the person that wrote the code?
Now I heard
so people were saying, oh, this was the 60s. That didn't matter back then. What you mean? Almost every gang is based off of the mafia. The mafia was the 20s, 30s, 40s.
Hey, by the way, real quick.
Here's the thing.
Wait, 1090.
A hypocritical shot. How many people was eliminated based on the order of the words of that man? See, that's
what I'm saying. So it's like you got all these dudes, right? Because this man was 23 and went to prison in 1973. So the majority of the people DMing me, atting me, doing that shit that's mad as fuck ain't never even met this man. They weren't even alive by the time he went to prison.
Hey, I want to ask.
So my thing is this: what happens when you find out that the person you've believed in and everything, and have crashed out behind, caught bodies behind, represented to the fullest, and you kept it so gangster, you got 7 damn life sentences yourself. What happens when you find out if he told on somebody?
Let me ask both of you this question, because this happened to me recently, right? And it's not necessarily that, but okay, yesterday, everybody's in my chat. They're at me on social media. They say, you got to go talk about Rock Nation. And I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I usually take every challenge that come towards me. Absol says something, not answer. Little Baby say something, not answer. Meat Mill say something, not answer. But I'm not going to lie. And again, we're not talking about the streets here. We're talking about even as a content creator and somebody who's putting out information, and both of y'all do that. When they want me to go against Rock Nation, I said, I got to pick and choose my battles wisely, because nobody else will go to Rock Nation. Y'all trying to send me to go get my head cut off. Let me ask you, 1090 Jake, you have all this information, or sometimes you get it, or you look into it and you see what it is. You probably have a barometer of like, people ain't gonna like what you're gonna say if it doesn't go as the narrative they're gonna want to receive. Do you ever say, you know what? If I tell them this, they're not even gonna believe it. They're gonna get more mad at me for bringing it to light. Let me not say it.
I mean, I'm already the most hated, so it's like
no, you're not. Get your.
I mean, Wack, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. You got yours, but I'm white though, so I'm gonna get a different level. You white, it's easier for them to say something about me than you. They're gonna say,
you know why though? People, let me tell you why I think I am, because I've been poking the bear longer than you about all kind of shit. So I ain't gonna lie, they hate your motherfucker. You could be my hated not identical twin brother, but fraternal twin brother. You know what I'm saying? But in this situation, you see what I sent you?
Yeah.
That's me asking that site, where did you get this from? And they admitted where they got it from. Because these people think I gave it to the site. They think I gave it to the site, and then I paid it to respond. These people got a crazy ass imagination, bro. It's nuts.
There's always some conspiracy theories behind shit. So that's how shit happens. And it's easier for people to be mad at me and you than to go ahead and figure out the shit for them fucking selves.
And what's crazy is,
man, I seen a video earlier today. Some GD from Arkansas, some shit, talking about me saying this, that, and the third, saying I'm dumb, and then he couldn't even read the fucking paperwork. This man fucking up his words. So it's like, how am I dumb? You can't even read it. Never mind, go get it.
And so it's like real act. If I didn't do what I did, it ain't no other voice out there unless it's a dude like you, big enough to fight this man in this type of lane. So, but I gotta tread lightly because I can't really go. Only thing I can go at him with is what he's using. But I know it's other pieces out there that he might obtain.
I'm gonna be honest, and not necessarily for you, but even when so what I was talking about, I started texting 1090 just to be transparent. And what everything I consumed, I saw people trying to laugh at 1090, be like, "Yo, we finally got this nigga. He exposed. He really bit off more than he could chew."
That's because of the content I read. But I'm telling you,
but it looked like he might have the work. It looked like
listen, before he came on here, I said because of the content I read, because of the interviewing that dude, and what he said to kind of debunk with 1090's with his
Jane Doe, her identity. I don't think she's KK, but whoever she is, we're gonna know within minutes of who it is, right? You're not gonna be able to just keep that quiet, right? I don't think Jane Doe is KK. I personally think KK here is in this up to her eyeballs. I mean, she is complicit with this whole thing. She is the fixer, the quicker fixer-upper. She's not indicted. So either she flipped, or she could be Jane Doe, or she's brought in down the line. But if the government does not bring KK on at one point in this trial, what does that show you? Shows that one, maybe she'll be indicted down the line, and another indictment. Maybe the prosecution goes after more people down the line. Certainly, I can't see. She's already been mentioned as being part of this whole thing. I can't see the defense even bringing her on, because the cross would be absolutely brutal if Diddy's defense brought her on as a defense witness. I mean, it would be vicious for KK. So to me, just the mystery is, why isn't KK indicted? And did she make a deal? Did she flip? Did she find, a proper agreement, immunity, or anything like that? No indication who Jane is, but could it be KK? I think it's always a possibility. Always a possibility.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.